Hello students, my name is Rahul Gudhe. You can call me Rahul sir. And today we are going to see one small topic from 11th standard, the first chapter of 11th standard called as living world. When we talk about something called as living, in that case, some people they ask, like if you ask some small children, small kid, that what is called as a living, in that case, some of the answers they are very obvious. But even if you talk about some other people, so they also try to tell some of the things, if these are some of the properties which are present in a particular thing, in that case, that thing will be called as living thing. If it is absent, in that case, it is called as non-living thing. So one of those property, if you ask somebody that what are the different types of properties which can remain present in an organism, which differentiate itself from non-living things, in that case, some people say that all living organisms they grow, so those things which are actually showing growth, they are considered to be the living. Some people they say, like, those things which show reproduction, they are considered to be the living organism. Some people argue that not only these two things they may remain present, they say that there must be the presence of consciousness. Some people say that because all living organisms they are made of cells, that's why cellular organization is one of the most essential component of living organisms. Some people argue that because there is cellular organization which is present, and because that organism it is having consciousness, and that's why something inside its body it is happening, in that case it must show some metabolism. So these are some of the things which remain present in some of the things, and those things they are called as living things, living organisms, and the things or the entities in which this is absent, they are considered to be non-living things. Let's try to see what these things are, whether these characteristics or whether these properties they are really present in all the organisms or not. We'll try to differentiate between them. We'll start for the first time from the consciousness. Now, consciousness, what is a consciousness basically? Some people say that consciousness, like many of the times when I ask some of the students, then their reply is very straight. Consciousness means awareness of surroundings. This is what is the general answer is. Awareness of the surrounding means whatever is happening around you, you must be aware of that. Whatever it can be, it doesn't matter. But something, if it is happening, if you are not aware of that, that does not, that simply means that you are not having any consciousness. So if you are aware of some things that are occurring around you, it's called as consciousness. So this answer is very correct, but this is one fold answer. Another face of the coin is, it is not only the awareness of the surrounding. Question is, why should you be aware of your surrounding? It is for giving response to any external stimuli. These are both the things which are present in consciousness. So, you should not only be aware of your surrounding, but at the same time, you must respond to any particular kind of stimuli. What is meant by a stimuli? Stimuli mean singular is called as stimulus. More than one stimulus, they are considered as stimuli. Stimuli means any kind of signal to which you will respond. It may be physical, it may be chemical, it may also be biological type of stimulus. Okay, any kind of stimulus if you are getting and you are responding to that stimulus because you are aware, that's why you are getting that signal. You are perceiving that signal because you are aware of your surrounding, and if any signal is coming, you are even responding to that. In that case, that response to stimuli and awareness of your surrounding both constitute to your consciousness. So consciousness, of course, it is one of the very essential property. Can this property be shown by any non-living thing? Like maybe if there is any table and if you are hitting that table, who will shout loudly? It is the table or it is you? Of course, it is you because you are living, that is non living. So, consciousness is the thing which is always remain present in a living organism. Now, second property which we talked about may be called as cellular organization. Second property is called as cellular organization. Now, what is mean by cellular organization? Some people say that all organisms they are made of cells, but this is to some extent a very small phenomenon. Okay, cellular organization it is having two different meanings. The first meaning it is with single celled organisms, and second thing it is related with multicellular organisms. In case of unicellular organisms or single-celled organisms, in that case, a single cell itself it is there. When we talk about multicellular organisms, more than one cells where they are present. In that case, the body is made of main multiple number of cells that you can call it as the cellular organization. It's completely fine. But when we talk about the unicellular organisms, in that case, only a single cell is there. Now, inside a single cell, even if you talk about the single cell, cell is generally made of cellular organelles. All these different types of cell organelles, they basically form an organization, and name of that organization is the cell, both in multicellular organisms and in unicellular organisms. This is the only meaning of cellular organization. That cellular components, cell organelles, they constitute to a single cell, and various different types of cells they constitute to the body. Both the meanings they are included under cellular organization. In other words, all organisms they are made of cells. This is what is the cellular organization is. Now the question is, can this property be shown by any non-living thing? Of course not. That's why this is one of the property, the essential property which is present in case of living organisms. Third property which we had written and which we were talking about, and the third property it is called as metabolism. Now basically what is metabolism? Metabolism can be defined as a sum total of all the chemical reactions occurring inside the body of an organism. A sum total of all the chemical reactions that are occurring inside the body of an organism, they are basically collectively they are called as metabolism. But these chemical reactions they fall under two categories. These categories are, one is called as anabolism and second is called as catabolism. Now when we talk about anabolism and catabolism, what are the basic meanings of them? Very simple. Those chemical reactions which are used for building up some of the molecules, they are called as anabolism, and those reactions which are used for the degradation of any biomolecule, any molecule, like breaking up reactions, in that case it is called as catabolism. So anabolism means building up reactions, and catabolism is breaking up reactions. Okay, anabolism and catabolism collectively they are called as metabolism. Okay, now the question is, can metabolism be shown by any non-living thing? Metabolism is not shown by any non-living thing. That's why metabolism, it is one of the property of living organ. That's also correct. But when these are the three properties, because they are present without any doubt inside the body of an organism, that's why we call them as the defining features. Some people, they don't know. Let me tell you what is the difference in defining features and second is called as characteristics. Defining features are those features which are always present in that organism. Okay, defining features, they are the features that are always present in an organism. But the second thing is they are present only in living organisms. They should not be shown by any non-living thing. In that case, those characters, either they, the first condition is they should always be remaining present in those organisms. They should always remain present. And second thing is they should not be present in any non-living thing. They should be exclusively shown by living things. In that case only those properties or those features, they will be called as the defining features. But when we talk about characteristics, in that case we cannot claim that they are always present. Okay, we also cannot say that they should never be present in non-living things. Characteristic is that thing which can remain present, which can remain absent also. That is simply called as the characteristic. That means characteristic is not always present, but at the same time, some of the characteristics, some of the characteristics, they are either shown by non-living things or they are not shown by all living things. Either they are shown by non-living things or they are not shown by all living organisms. Okay, either they are shown by non-living things or they are not shown by all the living things. Some of the living things, they may be living organisms, they may be showing. Some of the living organisms, they may not be showing. In that case it is considered to be the characteristic. Okay, now let's see that how, what are the different types of characteristics that we have seen. One of them is called as consciousness, second is called as cellular organization, and third is called as metabolism. Because all these three properties, they are always present in an organism. You cannot say that any organism if which is living and it is not showing any consciousness, is that possible? If any organism it is not showing any kind of consciousness, in that case it is simply called to be died, to be dead organism. It has died. That's why it is not living. That's why consciousness, it is continuously shown by living organism. Second thing, about cellular organization. Cellular organization is throughout the lifespan, it is always shown by the living organism. And third thing, metabolism, building up reaction and breaking up reactions. Both the type of reactions, they are always shown by living organism. That means that are always present. All these three properties that are always present in living organism. And second condition is they should present in only in living organism. They should not be shown by any non-living thing. No non-living thing shows consciousness. No non-living thing shows cellular organization. No non-living thing shows any kind of metabolism. That's why these are the three basic defining features of life. Now let's talk about growth and reproduction, and we'll you will realize that growth and reproduction, they can be characteristics, but they cannot be called as defining features of life. Okay, so let's see. If we talk about the growth, what is called as a growth? Generally, people, they say that growth is increase in the size. Okay, but growth, if we try to define the growth, then it is increase in size, number, and mass of cells or body of an organism. Okay, or maybe anything. If it is applicable to the cells or any kind of body, in that case, this is basically called increase in size, number, and mass. It is basically considered as the growth. If you talk about living organism, it is related with cell or the body. Now the question is, if just forget for a time being related with body or cells, can a living organism show growth? Of course it shows growth. The size of the cell, it increases, size of the body, it increases. If we talk about the number of cells, they also increase. If we talk about the mass also increase, right? That means this is the particular thing which is shown by living organisms, correct? But can growth be a defining feature of life? Basic definition, before just some time, before some time, we have seen about what is called as a defining feature. Defining feature is that property or that feature which is shown by a living organism in two different ways. First, it should always remain present in that organism. Anytime you take any organism, it should always show that property. And second thing, it is exclusively present only in living organism. It should not be present in any non-living thing. Correct? Let's talk about the growth. Can an organism show growth throughout the lifespan? Like plants, they show it. What about other organisms? Not everyone. Like we take an example of the humans. Can humans show the growth throughout the lifespan? No. But can growth be shown only by living organisms? Of course not. Let's take for an example. Here we are going to talk about some exceptions. Let's take some examples, like sand dunes. Second example is of the boulders. Third example is of mountains. Okay, I'll take another example. For example, metal ball. Okay, now think for a second. Can sand dunes show any kind of growth? These are all non-living things like boulders. Boulders, they are the big rocks. Mountains, who can say that they are living? Nobody can say like that. Even metal balls, none of them show any kind of growth. Correct? They do show the growth. Now that's the tricky thing. Like in case of sand dunes are present in, especially in case of the desert. Now, whenever the wind it is flowing, it will take some of the sand along with it from elsewhere, and it will try to deposit on the sand dunes. If it is of this particular size, in that case, this particular size is sand dune. You cannot say that it will remain only of this size. If any sand it comes from the outside and get deposited, in that case, this was the earlier size. Now it has become of this size. Increase in size. It is shown. It can be shown by sand dunes. Are you getting my point? Let's take the example of the boulders. Boulders, when they are kept in desert region, in that case, due to extreme heat, if you have studied geography, in that case you will realize how the weathering of it works, in especially in case of the deserts. Because of the extreme heat, these boulders, they actually expand. Expansion is increase in size. Does it mean that the boulders, they are living? No, but they show growth. Take the example of the mountains. Like in case of sand dunes, there is the deposition of the sand. Likewise, in case of the mountains, there can be the deposition of the dust, of the soil. In that case, there will be increase in the size. That means mountains they also show the growth. If you don't know, every year, even Mount Everest, it is increasing by a small millimeter, some millimeter by some millimeter. It is increasing in its height. If you don't know, in that case, that is simply called as increase in size. It's called as growth. If you take the example of the metal ball, keep the metal ball in any desert, or maybe you can put this metal ball inside the furnace. What will happen to this? Do you know? This metal ball, it will increase its size, it expands, its size will increase. That means these are the some of the things which also show growth. What is called as defining feature? Defining feature is it should always be remain present in that organism throughout the lifespan. And the second property is it should not be shown by any non-living thing. These are the non-living things which are showing growth. That's why growth can be characteristic. It is not the defining feature of life. Okay. Second thing second property that we were talking about, this is related with growth. Second one is related with the reproduction. Now, if you talk about reproduction, now reproduction is not at all shown by any non-living thing. Everybody will agree with that, correct? But that does not mean that reproduction is shown by all living things. There are some cases in which reproduction is not shown any by some of the living organisms. But basically, what is a reproduction? Reproduction is a process of production of new individuals from pre-existing ones. Okay, this is simply the definition of reproduction. Now, the question is, can reproduction be shown by any non-living thing? Of course not. But can reproduction be shown by all living things? Not at all. For being the defining feature of life, it should not be shown by living things. Reproduction, it satisfies that criteria. But when we talk about it should be shown throughout the lifespan of the body, it is this reproduction is the property which does not satisfy the criteria. At the same time, not all living things, not all living organisms, they reproduce. We'll take the example, like we'll take the exceptions. Exceptions are very tricky. For example, infertile couples. Second example, worker bees in case of honeybees. Now, infertile couple. What are infertile couples? It is that couple who, even these are the two duo or two people, husband and wife, those who even after the 10 years of the marriage or 20, 15 years of the marriage, they are still not having their own child. That means either the fault will be in the male or maybe in the female, whatever the reasons are. But the thing is, these are those couple which are not able to produce their own children. Can we say that husband and wife they both are non-living? You cannot say like that. Of course, they are living, but they are unable to produce the next generation. Aren't they the exception for this? Second thing, worker bees. If you don't know, in case of the honeybees, if you take any honeycomb, three different things are there. In case of honeybees, first is called as the queen. Of course, she controls everything. Second is called as the worker bees, who actually work something in that. Queen and worker bees both are female. And third partner, which will remain present, will be called as the drones. The, these drones, of course, they will remain present in that honeycomb. But what is the basic function of these drones? Drones, because they are males, their basic function is to reproduce. They reproduce with queen. It is the queen which is the fertile female. What about worker bees? Worker bees, they are not fertile, they're sterile, and that's why they cannot reproduce. Can we say that worker bees they are non-living? No, worker bees they are living, but they are unable to reproduce. Getting this point? That means reproduction. It can one of the characteristics, but it cannot be the defining feature of life. Okay. So in nutshell, what we'll try to see is that, do you remember at the beginning of this lecture, we had made the group of two different ones. So if we talk about the first one that is called as growth and second that is called as reproduction, in that case, if we say that growth and reproduction, they are characteristics, yes, growth and reproduction, they are characteristics. What is meant by defining features? Can they be defining? No. So growth it cannot be defining, and reproduction it cannot also be defining. Here I'll write terms. Here there is serial number. If we talk about the third one, that is called as consciousness, then can consciousness be defining property? Yes. Can consciousness be the characteristic? Yes. Consciousness is also the characteristics. Fourth thing, if we talk about cellular organization, in that case, of course, it is characteristics. At the same time, it is a defining feature. And if we talk about the last one, that is called as metabolism, it is also the property characteristic. At the same time, it is defining feature also. So in nutshell, if we see what are the defining features and what are the characteristics, this is how you can easily differentiate between all of them. So if you see in nutshell with the help of this chart, you will realize that out of these five different properties, first and second, they are only the characteristics. They are not the defining features. But if you talk about the last three, of course they are defining features, but at the same time they are characteristics also. Getting? This is how you can say that all these five are the characteristics of living organisms, but these are the three defining features which should always remain present in an organism. Okay? That's all about various types of properties of living organisms. Thank you.